Today's topic, we assess the dirty dozens. What are the dirty dozens? So as we talk about the history, the dirty dozens list initially published by the Environmental Working Group, which is the EWG. This is interesting. What are pesticides? That's the one thing, the organic pesticides that I was explaining to you. Organic pesticides or bio-pesticides are naturally occurring chemicals, but they may be reproduced in labs for use in organic farms. Welcome to Food Farmacy, where we assess food as medicine. I'm your host, Sarah Sloan, certified NTP, and this is my charming and funny co-host,
uncertified Brian Adams.
Today's topic, we assess the dirty dozens. What are the dirty dozens? So the dirty dozens are 12 fruits and vegetables that are the highest in pesticides.
Okay.
That you really need to look out for.
Right.
Okay. So I think I have a little bit of information. Let's talk about the history. Let's assess the history.
The highest that holds pesticides even after.
Good thing you brought that up. I mean, they call it residue, pesticide residue. However, I believe that if a plant is being fed pesticide water, why wouldn't you intelligently believe that it's inside that plant? Just like if you were to consume pesticide, it would be inside your body. Right? So why wouldn't that plant be made up of pesticides internally? Why would it just be residue? That's my argument a little bit on that, I guess, an opinion on that since you brought that topic up. So as we talk about the history, the dirty dozens list initially published by the Environmental Working Group, which is the EWG. It was established in 1995 as a guide to fruits and vegetables with the highest levels of pesticide residues based on testing data from the USDA and the FDA. The list's purpose is to help consumers make informed decisions about which conventionally grown produce to prioritize buying organic if possible. Okay. So, that's a little bit about the history. Focus on pesticide residue. Let's look at that real quick. The list highlights items with the highest concentrations of pesticide residues, aiming to raise consumers' awareness and encourage healthier foods. Okay, so that's a little bit about the history and how the EWG started the dirty dozens in 1995. Then we have the facts about the dirty dozens. It's an annual list published by the EWC that identifies 12 fruits and vegetables with the highest pesticide residue levels. Approximately 95% of non-organic samples of dirty dozen items tested positive for pesticides, with some samples containing up to 23 different chemicals.
23 different chemicals. I know a lot of our audience, your audience, or the audience would be questioning right now because that's a lot and enough information to be like, okay, what are the 12 dozen?
Yeah, 23 different chemicals. The most pesticides were found on kale, collard, and mustard greens, along with bell and hot peppers.
How often do you use any of the dirty dozen?
I eat the dirty dozens almost regularly, but I don't eat dirty. I buy them organic or from a farm that I know that I trust. So I will eat strawberries. I will eat, I don't like bell peppers. And those are nightshades, which is a whole nother show. We'll look out for nightshades. We'll cover that. What are nightshades and what do they do? So I really, fortunately, don't like bell peppers at all. But everything else I believe on the list I pretty much consume, but not dirty.
Okay.
I make sure that those fruits and vegetables are, but that's going to get, we'll get to the end of that in our recommendation. Because we have some recommendations, obviously, about that. Okay, so moving on. We covered the history, the facts. This is interesting. What are pesticides? In the broad sense, pesticides are chemicals used to control any organism that might invade or damage crop, foods, stores, or homes. Because there are many kinds of potential pests, there are several kinds of pesticides. The following are some examples. Insecticides, these pesticides residue destruction and contamination of growing and harvested crops by insects and their eggs. Herbicides, also known as weed killers. Herbicides improve crop yields. Rodenticides.
We need some of those.
Rodenticides, these are important for controlling destruction and contamination of crops by vermin and rodent-borne diseases. And then fungicides, this type of pesticide is especially important for protecting harvest crops and seeds from fungal rot. For many years, these pesticides were largely unregulated. However, the impact pesticides have on the environment and human health has been under greater scrutiny since the publication of Silent Spring by Rachel Carson in 1962.
Okay, Rachel.
Healthline.
Anyone could go to Healthline and read this up themselves and continue to educate.
Healthline.com. Yep. Anyone can continue to read this article. The ideal pesticide would destroy its target pest without causing any negative effects on humans, non-target plants, animals, and environment. However, pesticides are not perfect and their use can have health and environmental effects. The types of pesticides may be synthetic, meaning they're created by industrial labs, or organic. And we talked about that, remember?
Is that what you got growing outside? Your own pesticides?
Well, in a sense, I do have organic, right? But I would say mine's safe. I don't really have pesticides. I grow my own sort of like fertilizer, but that's with compost, and that's a whole nother show. So that's safe. So that's the one thing, the organic pesticides that I was explaining to you. Organic pesticides or bio-pesticides are naturally occurring chemicals, but they may be reproduced in labs for use in organic farms. Synthetic pesticides designed to be stable, have a good shelf life, and be easy to distribute. They are also designed to be effective at targeting pests and have low toxicity to non-target animals and the environment. Classes of the synthetic pesticides include, that you need to read the article on healthline.com because some of these are really like organophosphates, carbamates, pyrethroids, and it explains what they do. There's a few more that are difficult to pronounce. Okay, this is the article I wanted to read you about bio-pesticides. Organic farming make use of biopesticides or naturally occurring pesticide chemicals that have evolved in plants. Organic farming makes use of biopesticides or naturally occurring pesticides chemicals that have evolved in plants. There are too many types to outline here. The EPA has published a list of registered biopesticides. Also, the U.S. Department of Agriculture maintains a national list of approved synthetic and restricted organic pesticides. So the point here is that there's restricted organic pesticides even, right? And some of those, here are a few examples of important organic pesticides. The rotenone, let me see if this is one of the unsafe ones. The rotenone. This is an insecticide used in combination with other organic pesticides. It's naturally produced as a beetle deterrent, but several tropical plants and is notoriously toxic to fish. So that one kills fish. Copper sulfate. This pesticide destroys fungi and some weeds. Although it's classified as a biopesticide, it's industrially produced and can be toxic to humans and the environment at high levels. And there's a few more in this article. Copper sulfate. This pesticide destroys fungi and some weeds, although it's classified as, I did that one. Didn't I say that one? Yeah. Horticultural oils. This refers to oil extracts from various plants and anti-insect effects. These differ in their ingredients and potential side effects. Some can harm beneficial insects like bees.
You are opening a door to a rabbit hole.
Well, these are just some examples of, and there's one more. I'm going to give you the last one. These are just some examples of biopesticides that are organic pesticides that can even be harmful to the environment.
Right.
And humans and fish, which is the environment, correct? Bt toxin, last one, produced by bacteria, effective against several kinds of insects. Bt toxin has been introduced to some types of genetically modified organisms, GMO crops. Okay, so this just gives you a good illustration. And again, healthline.com, you can read more about this. It gives you a good illustration of the different types of chemicals that are used in the EWG finds 23 chemicals, on the Dirty Dozens. So let's move on to symptoms. Let's assess the symptoms of pesticides. Some of the symptoms, let me go to my notes here that I took. So acute pesticide poisoning, nausea, cramps, diarrhea, dizziness, anxiety, confusion. Long-term health effects may include cancer and adverse effects on reproduction and neurotoxicity, hormonal imbalance. Pesticides can act as an endocrine disruptor, which is where you get those hormonal imbalances.
Does death last or something?
I don't have death on my notes because I don't, but I guess death is in there, right? Because cancer causes death,
Right.
right? And so may cause respiratory problems, environmental impacts such as soil erosion.
You might as well die.
This is interesting. A lot of people it's interesting that a lot of people don't know that pesticides not only have those effects on us, but environmental impacts such as soil erosion, water pollution, we know that, and biodiversity loss. So I think
why is there so much used and sprayed on our day-to-day edible food of choices and in our air that we breathe in and on our crops? And like, why are they using these chemicals that actually cause all these damages to not only the human body but anything that grows?
Well, I think it came out of convenience, higher yields, less intrusion, there's various financial gain and things like that, sort of thing.
I think the easiest answer was I just opened up the door to a rabbit hole with that question.
Pesticides were initially developed and used to control pests that threatened agricultural crops and human health. So they initially started it, they're saying,
to keep certain
pests
and certain things out because they assumed that since it was being tampered with, that it was harmful to the humans.
Correct.
So they created something prevent certain.
It says more, particularly
attacks.
Yes, it says particularly during and after World War II, which I thought I should add while you were speaking.
Which is weird.
The rise of synthetic pesticides like DDT during this period was driven by the need to combat insect-borne disease and increase crop yields.
I don't trust it.
So did you hear? So it was designed. The DDT during this period was driven by the need to combat insect-borne disease and increase crop yields, leading to their widespread adoption in agricultural and public health. Early uses before the advent of synthetic pesticides, farmers and individuals used various natural substances like plant-based.
Population control.
Okay, that is not PC, Brian. Okay, early uses. Before the advent of synthetic pesticides, farmers and individuals used various natural substances like plant-based extracts and sulfur to control pests. World War II. The development of synthetic pesticides like DDT during World War II was a major turning point. DDT was highly effective in controlling insects that carry diseases like malaria and typhus. Post-war expansion. After the war, the use of DDT and other synthetic pesticides expanded rapidly in agriculture to increase crop yields and reduce pest-related losses. So that's what I was kind of saying. It's kind of a two-pronged thing. It increases crop yields and reduces loss with through rodents and bugs.
So it was more of a financial to keep the crops from dying.
I think it made sense initially, maybe
having
somewhere.
more product to sell. Keep their products from crop from dying and having more products to sell.
But you have to also understand that you are what you eat, and if you're
I'm a pesticide.
eating pesticides,
You're
then
a pesticide.
Motivations. The primary motivations for using pesticides included increased food production. Pesticides help farmers produce more food by reducing losses due to pests and diseases. Public health. They were used to control vectors of human diseases like malaria and yellow fever. Economic benefits. Pesticides contributed to increased profits for farmers and reduced the impact of pest outbreaks on local economies. So I suppose that's how we got to, at least that's what Google says, how we got to, I guess, sort of pet poison on all spraying our food with poison.
And justifying it.
Which segues us right into our last topic, which is recommendations. What are first obvious recommendation would be to buy all the Dirty Dozens organic or from a local farmer.
Like we do.
Yes. Or from a local farmer.
Like we will be.
No, we do.
Like we do.
We do. We have a few, but soon we will be buying more at localfooddirect.com as we have access to more quality local food with no pesticides, because Local Food Direct has no pesticides.
Policy.
It is the Local Food Direct.
No chemicals, no pesticides, no
dyes, synthetic fibers, all these types of things.
Yes.
So it does have a standard, and that is what's going to be so great about localfooddirect.com.
Correct.
When we get all of our farmers signed up and all have access to all these farms.
That's a game changer.
Right. Throughout the United States. So buy from organic. The thing about organic, I do want to say, is I believe it's 95% organic. So the percentage of organic content in a food product determines how it's labeled. For a product that is labeled 100% organic, it must contain 100% certified organic ingredients. A product that is labeled organic must have at least 95% certified organic content. Products labeled made with organic must have at least 70%. So there's 3 different type of, sort of labels, which brings us back to being able to buy from local farms, because now you have to know all these nuances to what is organic,
products.
Right? So really my recommendation would be to buy from a local farm. Buy your fruits and vegetables from a local farm that they do not use pesticides, one that you know and trust.
Just keep in mind and remember that rinsing does not do the trick for the Dirty Dozen.
Right.
They still will contain a certain amount of pesticides.
I agree with that. 100% organic agreement.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
And the last recommendation I would have, would be look out for the Clean-15. The EWG has put out a list of the Clean-15. I really think that when it comes to fruits and vegetables, even you should always not consume things that you suspect that, if you suspect that, honestly, I try to buy all fruits and vegetables local if I can, number one. First priority, local from a farm where I know they're not using pesticides. That's the best way. Second, if I have to buy from the store, which hopefully, we'll have more access to quality local food again.
Right.
I really try to buy organic because at least I know, and now we need to look out for 100% organic. The only caveat to that is I don't really know that they put 100% organic on any fruit and vegetable. I think that's more pertaining to processed foods or things like that, right? I think really you're looking at organic. And I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever seen a fruit or a vegetable that said 100% or made with organic material, which is 70%. So I think it's always typically going to be just organic, where you're going to see 95%, which means 5% of that product can be inorganic. So, let's look out for those Dirty Dozens. Make sure you're keeping yourself healthy and watch our next show where we are going to assess what is gluten.
What is gluten?
And what is gluten-free?
Gluten-free.
This show is sponsored by localfooddirect.com, where you can finally find quality local farm products that ship for free direct from the farm to your door.
If you're a farmer or a producer of quality local products in the U.S. that would meet the localfooddirect.com standard, go to localfooddirect.com. Join the local food revolution.
Sign up now during the launch special and receive 2 months free.
Let's get back to our roots and all have access to quality local foods again, like our ancestors did.
Use the code FOODPharmacy and receive an extra month free. That's right, 3 months free when you use the code FOODPharmacy.
That's 2 F's, as in food and farm.
Go to localfooddirect.com.